A while ago, I was talking with a friend of mine who's also a pastor, who's getting a bit uncomfortable about some of the questions that were continually asked of him. It wasn't that he didn't really want to discuss the questions, but because he felt that people weren't really listening to his answer. Someone would come up to him, they would ask him a question, he'd answer it for them, and a few weeks later it would be asked again a little bit differently, sometimes by the same person, sometimes by somebody else. Apparently, it seemed like the answer he was giving the people was not sufficient for those answering the question. But I don't think that shows he was deficient in his answer. Just because the answer wasn't sufficient to satisfy the person doesn't mean his answer was wrong or lacking in some way. It might not be sufficient because I think some questions are never meant to be fully answered, at least not by us. See, the Bible never claims to answer all our questions. In fact, it often points out that this is mysterious, that God is beyond our real knowing. It does claim to point us, however, to God through Jesus. See, the Bible is not God's answer book. It's a story of God's grace and love lived out in the lives of the people He has chosen. It's a story. An amazing, inspired, infallible love story that has implications for every single part of our lives and calls us to give everything to Him, absolutely. But it's a story, not a textbook or an answer book. Now, this does not mean that we should stop asking questions or that we should give up seeking for clearer understanding, but we may need to give up our desire to seek for the answer for some things. To be honest, I start to get worried when people stop asking questions because, one, either that means they don't care, or two, they think they have all the answers. When the questions stop, the thinking stops and the searching stops. And if we ever get to the point where we think we know everything about God, we are wrong. Because the Bible says clearly that there is a lot of stuff that we will not know, that God is mysterious. And if Jesus is the truth, then our search for truth will ultimately lead us into a deeper understanding of Him. So keep asking questions, keep digging and searching, keep wrestling with different things, but also recognize we may not ever get a definitive answer to some of our questions, and accept the mystery that sometimes we do need to deal with.